A CEO dad accidentally calls the wrong emergency babysitter. The woman who gets there is the one he's been hoping for. The meeting room lights blinked a bit as the storm moved over the city buildings. Aiden Walker stood at the front of a long, clear table, sleeves up, speaking sharply as he pointed at the screen. He was finishing a big company deal, one that had taken many months of talks. Suddenly, his phone buzzed on the table. It was the nanny's number. He looked worried, said sorry with a quick nod, and went into the hallway. "What is it, Marlene?" A scared voice came from the phone. "Mr. Walker, I am so sorry. I can't get to Mia tonight. My car broke down, and there's no way I can reach the city." Aiden held the top of his nose. "You're telling me this now? My daughter is sick, and I have another hour left in this meeting. I called your helper already. She said she would find someone new." He hung up, took a deep breath, and went back into the meeting. He told his main helper what to do, then checked his messages. One text from his assistant flashed on his screen. "Found emergency sitter, Lucy's sister, on her way now." He put the phone in his pocket and left the office, stepping into the elevator with the calm of someone who was always fixing problems. He arrived at his top-floor apartment 20 minutes later, made his tie loose, and walked into the warm light of the apartment. Mia was curled up on the couch under a blanket, cheeks red with fever, holding her favorite soft rabbit. She looked up at him in a sleepy way. "Daddy?" He bent down next to her, moving hair from her forehead. "I'm here, sweetheart. You'll feel better soon." The doorbell rang. He stood up straight and walked to the door, expecting the normal dressed-up professional look of one of Lucy's friends. Instead, a woman stood there, very wet from the rain, her hair tied up in a messy knot, holding a small cloth bag and wearing a dark blue sweater that looked more for a classroom than an emergency nanny call. She looked up at him, wiping water from her eyes. "Hi, I'm Lily Harper. I got a message saying someone needed an emergency babysitter." Aiden looked confused. "You're Lucy's sister?" She leaned her head. "Lucy? No, I think this may have been a mistake." There was a long, quiet moment. Then Mia coughed behind him, a soft sound that made his chest hurt. He opened the door more. "Mistake or not, I need help right now. Can you stay, just for tonight?" Lily waited a moment, then nodded. "Of course." Within minutes, she had her coat hung up, shoes off, and was kneeling beside Mia on the couch, her voice soft and even and calming as she spoke to the little girl. She felt her head gently to check her temperature, helped her sip water, and whispered stories while rubbing her back. Aiden stood in the hallway, very surprised. By the time he returned from getting fever medicine, Mia had fallen asleep, curled against Lily's side. He gave her the medicine quietly. "You seem to know what you're doing." Lily smiled without looking up. "I used to be a teacher for young kids. I'm on a break now." Aiden didn't ask why. He only watched as Lily softly moved Mia onto a pillow and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Later in the kitchen, Lily made tea from the cabinet while Aiden sat at the counter, still wondering how this stranger had calmed his daughter quicker than anyone before. "I'm sorry again," Lily said. "I really thought the message was from a family I used to watch kids for years ago. I just showed up." He shook his head. "You showed up when it was important." They sat quietly for a moment. Then Lily looked toward the hallway where Mia was sleeping. "She's a great little girl. You must be doing something right." Aiden sighed, sounding much calmer. "I try. Some days I feel like I'm just getting by. You're not alone in that." He looked at her more closely, noticing the tired look in her kind eyes. "You seem good at this. Are you sure you're not still a teacher?" She gave a small smile. "It's complicated." He didn't ask more, but how calm and steady she was made him feel strange inside, in the part of him that had learned to live without anyone's help. As the rain continued hitting the windows, Aiden Walker, head of his company, understood that maybe for the first time in years, someone had came into his life and made it feel a bit less empty. The apartment was quiet, the low sound of the city far below, made quiet by thick windows. Lily stood in the gently lit hallway, watching Mia sleep soundly on the very big couch. Her tiny body was curled like a little letter mark beneath the thick, warm blanket. The fever had gone down a little. Her cheeks, though still pink, were not hot anymore. Aiden came to stand next to Lily with 2 cups of tea. "She's out for the night, I think," Lily whispered. He gave her a cup. "Thanks to you." She took it, making her hands warm. She just needed someone to listen and probably a little ginger tea. Aiden gave a soft, quick laugh, which was rare. "I should give you a job right now." Lily lifted an eyebrow. "That would be quite a job offer, since I showed up here by accident." "You showed up when no one else did," he said in a simple way. They sat on the far ends of the big leather couch in the living room. Between them, the city lights went on forever, sparkling and far away. Aiden leaned back, moving his shoulders around. Lily sipped her tea, her eyes moving from the city view to the photo frames on the small table. One of Aiden with a younger Mia, another of a woman with bright eyes and a gentle smile. "She was very pretty," Lily said quietly. Aiden looked where she was looking. His voice got lower. "She was everything." A long, quiet moment followed. "I'm sorry," Lily said. "She died 2 years ago," he answered, not looking at the photo. "Cancer. It was fast. Too fast." Lily didn't say anything. She just nodded, letting the sadness of the moment feel normal. Aiden looked at the tea in his hands. "Since then, it's just been me and Mia. Babysitters come and go. Plans change. Life does not stop because you're trying to feel normal again." Lily listened. Truly listened. Not as someone curious, but as someone who understood the pain in every word. "Do you get any help from family?" she asked. "Not really. My parents live far away in the country." He stopped talking. "Her parents, it's complicated." They both looked at Mia, who let out a small sigh in her sleep. "She's strong," Lily whispered softly. Aiden nodded. "Stronger than me some days." Lily smiled, then paused before saying, "You're doing a good job." He looked at her with surprise. "You've known me less than 3 hours." 3 hours is long enough to see the way you looked at her when she cried. Long enough to see the world stops when she needs you. Aiden's jaw tightened, feelings moving behind his calm eyes. There was something in Lily being there, a quiet calmness that made it feel like it was okay to talk without needing to fix everything. So he said, changing the topic softly, "Why isn't someone like you in a classroom full of kids?" Lily paused. "I had a student," she started slowly, fingers holding her mug tighter. "He got hurt. It was an accident, but I couldn't stop feeling it was my fault. Even when no one else did, I took time off, and then more time, and I never went back." Aiden didn't stop her. He just nodded slowly. "I think," Lily said after a long, quiet moment, "I forgot how to be around children without being afraid." He leaned his head a little. "You didn't seem afraid tonight." She gave a small smile. Mia made it easy. They both became quiet again, not feeling awkward, but in that odd space where 2 strangers felt less like strangers. Eventually, Aiden stood. "You can take the extra room. It's down the hall. Mia sleeps better if someone is close, and I trust you." Lily blinked. "You sure?" He gave her a tired but true nod. "I haven't been sure about many things lately, but this feels right." She followed him to the hallway, stopping again to look at the sleeping girl on the couch. Aiden looked at her. "Thank you, Lily, for tonight." She smiled. "Thank you for letting me stay." As the door to the extra room closed quietly behind her, Aiden stood alone for a moment, looking at the space she had just made full. Something new pulled at him, like the start of a question he wasn't brave enough to ask yet. But somewhere down the hallway, a stranger was already making his world feel less like a heavy weight and more like home. The next morning arrived quietly with sunlight slipping through the half-closed curtains. Aiden was already in a fresh suit, walking around the kitchen with his phone pressed to his ear while he poured cereal into a bowl. At the counter, Mia sat in her pajamas, swinging her feet and absent-mindedly tapping her spoon against the bowl. Across from her, Lily appeared in the doorway, dressed in simple jeans and a soft gray sweater, her hair loosely tied back. "Good morning," she said gently. Mia's face brightened instantly. "Miss Lily!" Aiden turned, startled by his daughter's unusual burst of joy. "I guess someone's happy to see you." Lily smiled and walked closer, asking softly, "How's the fever?" Mia lifted her chin proudly. "I feel like pancakes." Aiden raised an eyebrow. "You hardly ate toast last night." "I changed my mind," she said, stubborn and playful. Lily laughed and offered, "Mind if I make her something? I'm like a pancake magic maker." Aiden hesitated, then stepped aside. "Be my guest." Within minutes, the kitchen filled with the smell of vanilla and cinnamon. Mia giggled as Lily flipped pancakes with a flourish, carefully shaping them into stars with blueberries hidden in the batter. Aiden, half amused and half bewildered, murmured, "I didn't know we had blueberries." Lily flashed him a playful glance. "I found them behind a lot of health bars." He sat down and watched as Mia devoured the pancakes with delight, her energy brighter than it had been in weeks. After the dishes were cleared, Lily turned to Aiden with a calm expression. "If you need help again today, I'm free." He studied her face. "You don't have other plans?" She shrugged easily. "Not anymore." Something about the way she said it made the moment feel different, less like a job and more like a choice. Aiden realized she wasn't offering out of duty but from something deeper, something personal. "I'd appreciate that," he said finally. What started as one more day turned into 3, and then a week. Lily wove herself naturally into their routine, walking Mia to the park, teaching her how to fold paper swans, and helping her practice her letters with glitter pens and too many stickers. Aiden returned from work each evening to laughter echoing down the hall, to stories Mia had not wanted to share with anyone else. The house that had long felt too quiet began to carry the easy rhythm of a life less lonely. On a warm Saturday afternoon, Aiden invited Lily to the farmer's market. Together they strolled past stalls of flowers and homemade jams, while Mia clutched Lily's hand tightly as they stopped to watch a small puppet show. They shared lemonade and a giant cinnamon roll, taking turns as Mia insisted on feeding both grown-ups like it was a game. For the first time in years, it felt like a real family. Later, beneath a tree at the park, Lily leaned against the trunk, reading aloud from a storybook while Mia curled into her side. Aiden sat nearby, watching, his chest full of something both lovely and frightening. As the light faded, Mia rested her head in Lily's lap and whispered a question that made the air stand still. "Can you be my new mommy?" Lily's eyes glistened, her hand brushing Mia's hair as she looked to Aiden, who sat frozen in silence. She gave a gentle smile and whispered back, "That's a very big question, sweetheart. Let's keep having fun together, okay?" Satisfied, Mia nodded and drifted into sleep. Aiden finally moved, sitting beside them. "She's never said anything like that before," he admitted quietly. Lily's voice was low. "I didn't know what to say." "You said exactly the right thing," he assured her. And in that fragile silence, something shifted, something neither of them dared to name, but both understood was no longer temporary. The days blurred into a rhythm of breakfasts full of laughter, afternoons at the library, and evenings wrapped in storybooks. Outwardly, it looked like happiness. Yet Aiden grew quieter. He smiled at Mia's excitement and at Lily's patient warmth, but in his eyes lingered a distance Lily could not quite reach. One evening, after Mia had fallen asleep, Aiden walked into the living room where Lily was tidying up colored pencils with music humming in the background. "Dinner's almost ready. You can stay if you want," he offered. She looked up and smiled. "I'd like that." But something in his voice unsettled her. Later, at the dinner table, the air felt heavier than usual. Lily set aside her fork and asked softly, "Is everything okay, Aiden?" He poured water into his glass, staring at it before answering. This thing we've built, it feels bigger than I expected." Her heartbeat quickened. And that's a problem? He shook his head. No, but it's complicated. She studied him for a moment and whispered, "You're afraid." His voice was quiet but steady. "I'm very scared. Of letting you close, of Mia getting too fond, of losing everything again." Her eyes softened. "Aiden, I never wanted to replace someone." "You didn't," he said quickly, firmly, "but that doesn't mean I know how to do this. I lost someone, and for 2 years I've done everything to make sure Mia never feels that kind of loss again." Lily's gaze was tender. "Protecting her also means shutting out anyone who could matter, even me." He didn't answer, but his silence was enough. Slowly she stood and picked up her bag. He started to speak. "I think I should go, Lily," but she cut him off with a sad smile. "You don't have to explain. You're not ready." At the door, she turned back one last time. "I wasn't looking for a family that night, but somehow you became one. I don't know how to walk away without it hurting." And then she was gone. The apartment seemed cavernous without her. The next morning, Mia noticed Lily's shoes missing and felt uneasy. In the playroom, she found a small folded note and opened it with her tiny fingers. "You're brave and kind, and I will always care about you. Love, Miss Lily." Mia clutched it against her chest and began to cry. Aiden hurried in, gathering her in his arms. "Did Miss Lily leave because of me?" she asked through tears. Aiden's throat tightened as he whispered, "No, sweetheart. She left because of me." And in that painful moment, he understood the truth. He had built walls so high around his heart that even love could not climb them. And in protecting himself, he had pushed away the only person who had made him believe it was safe to feel again. Days passed, then a week, and the apartment grew quieter. Too quiet. Mia stopped asking for Lily after the third night, but she still carried the little note around like a lucky charm, clutching it in her small hands whenever she thought no one was watching. Aiden noticed, and guilt gnawed at him slowly, like rust spreading on metal. He still woke early, packed Mia's lunch, dropped her off at preschool, and returned to his meetings as though nothing had changed, but everything had. One afternoon, after enduring a particularly dull meeting, Aiden sat at his desk, staring at a clay coffee cup Lily had once left on the shelf, painted with tiny sunflowers. She had told him it reminded her of warmth, of something she longed for. His chest tightened, and in a whisper only he could hear, he admitted, "I made a mistake." Without pausing to think, he pulled out his phone and scrolled through contacts until he reached a familiar number, not Lily's, since she had never given it, but the babysitting service he thought he had called weeks ago. This time he asked directly, "Do you know where Lily Harper is?" After a brief silence, the uncertain voice on the other end replied, "She helps out at Maple and Bloom Books downtown. Works with kids there sometimes." That evening, Aiden stood outside the small bookstore tucked between a bakery and a flower shop, his heartbeat loud in his ears. Through the front window, he saw her. Lily sat cross-legged on a rug in the reading corner, surrounded by children, her eyes sparkling as she brought a storybook to life with laughter, animated gestures, and a joy that filled the room. She seemed entirely herself, more alive than she had been the day she left. When the reading ended, she hugged a child goodbye and began gathering the books, but when she turned toward the front, her eyes met Aiden's through the glass, and she froze. He stepped inside slowly, his hands buried in his coat pockets. "Hi," he said softly. Lily's expression was cautious, unsure. "Hi," she answered. "I didn't come here to ask you to come back," he told her. "I just needed to say thank you." She tilted her head. "For what?" He swallowed. "For giving me something I didn't know I needed." Lily looked down. "You made it plain you weren't ready." "I wasn't," Aiden admitted. "But losing you made me realize I might never be ready if I keep being afraid." She crossed her arms, though her face softened. "Fear is real, Aiden, but so is love." Taking a step closer, Aiden pulled a bracelet from his pocket, bright plastic beads strung unevenly with the letters MIA at the center. "She made this for you the night you left," he said quietly. "She hid it under her pillow. I found it this morning." Lily's fingers trembled as she reached for it. "She misses you," Aiden said. "We both do." Lily's voice shook as she whispered, "I miss her too, and I miss you." His eyes burned with unshed tears. "Lily, I don't want to pretend I have everything figured out, but I know this. When you left, everything felt empty. I want to try, with you, with Mia, as a family. No walls, no hiding." Her eyes filled with something like hope, fragile but real. "I can't promise I won't be scared," she said. "I don't want perfect," he replied. "I just want real." At that, she smiled, soft and calm, and stepped into his arms. Between their hands, the bracelet pressed gently, a reminder of the little girl who bound them together. And Aiden knew he had been given another chance, one he would not let slip away. Lily didn't move back in right away, but she began reappearing quietly, like a melody returning to a forgotten song. She came in the mornings before preschool, helping Mia choose mismatched socks on purpose, and slipping handwritten notes into her lunchbox with words like, "Be brave today," or, "Remember, sunshine starts with you." Mia treasured them, and though Aiden never said it aloud, he did too. Slowly their routine began to rebuild itself. Pancake Saturdays returned, with flour on noses and giggles echoing through the kitchen, and movie nights came back as well. Lily curled on one side of the couch, Mia in the middle, and Aiden on the other, their hands brushing over shared popcorn. The silence that had haunted the apartment was replaced with the warmth of cinnamon, crayons, and laughter. One evening, after Mia had fallen asleep mid-sentence during a bedtime story, Aiden found Lily sitting on the couch flipping through a pile of drawings. "She made these today," Lily said, holding one up. It was a stick figure version of Lily in a bright pink cape, with Mia and Aiden drawn beside her. "Apparently, I'm a superhero babysitter teacher lady." Aiden chuckled softly and sat beside her. "She's not wrong," he said. Lily studied the picture for a long moment before setting it aside. "I've been thinking about going back to teaching." Aiden blinked in surprise. "You're ready?" "I'm scared," she admitted. "But yes, I think I am." He took her hand gently, his thumb tracing circles over her skin. "I think the classrooms missed you as much as we did." She smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "The day you showed up at the bookstore, I remembered who I used to be, or maybe who I still am." He leaned close. "You're so much more," he whispered. Later that week, Aiden invited Lily to visit the cemetery. She hesitated when he mentioned it, but agreed. They walked together through quiet rows until they reached a simple gravestone. Emily Walker, loved wife, dear mother. Standing there, Aiden spoke softly. She was kind, smart. She made this place feel like home. Losing her felt like the world had shifted off its path. For a long time, I believed that loving again meant betraying her, that moving forward meant letting her go. Lily squeezed his hand. "Hearts aren't graves," she said gently. "They can hold more than one love. They can grow, they can remember and still let something new in. I'll never try to replace her." "I don't want you to," Aiden replied. "I want you to be exactly who you are." Together they placed a sunflower at the gravestone, Lily's idea. "She would have liked you," he murmured. "I hope so," Lily whispered. And as they walked back to the car, their fingers twined together naturally, without effort. It wasn't dramatic or grand, but it was real. Two people choosing to begin again, not from scratch, but from the broken places they had carefully pieced together. By spring, soft mornings and golden afternoons brought with them a new sense of calm. Lily had accepted a part-time teaching position at a preschool only a few blocks away, and she and Mia often walked to school hand in hand, their laughter spilling into the quiet streets. Sometimes Aiden would meet them on the way back, coffee in hand, though the way his eyes lingered on Lily betrayed his true reason. One Thursday, Mia came home proudly holding a certificate. "Look, I was Student of the Month," she exclaimed. Aiden scooped her into the air, spinning her in a slow circle while Lily clapped excitedly. "You've been so kind and such a good listener," she said. "Of course they picked you." Mia beamed. "There's a ceremony. Will you both come?" Aiden answered without hesitation. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." On the day of the ceremony, Mia stood on stage, her eyes scanning the crowd until she spotted Aiden and Lily sitting side by side in the front row. Her smile widened so much her cheeks hurt. Afterward, she ran into their arms, hugging them tightly. "I'm so glad you're both here," she whispered. That night, after cupcakes and a living room dance party, Aiden tucked her in. With her bunny clutched tight, she murmured sleepily, "I hope Miss Lily stays forever." Aiden kissed her forehead, the weight of her words pressing on his chest. "Me too, baby girl," he whispered. When he returned to the living room, Lily was folding laundry, humming softly to herself. He watched her for a long moment before speaking. "You've become part of everything here," he said. She looked up, cheeks pink. "I hope that's okay." He smiled. "It's more than okay." Then, after a pause, "Will you have dinner with us Friday? Just us. No toys, no TV, just a real dinner." Lily raised a brow. "Are you asking me on a date, Mr. Walker?" He gave a small, knowing smile. "I believe I am." She laughed, her eyes bright. "Then I'd love to." Friday night arrived, and Aiden had gone out of his way. He wore a dark blue shirt, set candles on the table, and even attempted cooking, though Lily rescued the meal before it could be ruined. Mia sat proudly in her booster seat, declaring the pasta fancy and insisting on a toast with apple juice. "To us," she said solemnly. "Our family." Across the candlelight, Aiden and Lily shared a look that said more than words ever could. After Mia was asleep, Lily stepped out onto the balcony, drawn by the cool night air. Aiden joined her. "She's happy," Lily said. "Because of you," he replied. She shook her head gently. "Because of us." He turned toward her, his voice low. "You've changed everything, Lily. You brought color back into our world." Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily froze as he opened it to reveal a simple gold ring with a single diamond. "I'm not asking for forever tonight," he said quickly. "I'm asking you to say yes to now, to waking up here, to pancakes, to storybooks scattered on the floor, to all of it, with me." Tears filled Lily's eyes as she whispered, "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." From down the hall, a sleepy voice mumbled, "Did someone say pancakes?" They both laughed, and as Aiden slipped the ring onto her finger, his gaze held hers with such steady, tender love that it felt enough to light the stars. In that moment, there were no more empty spaces, no lingering doubts, only the three of them together, and more than enough. A year later, sunlight filtered through the trees in the quiet garden behind a brick house in Brooklyn. White chairs lined a narrow stone path scattered with flower petals, laughter drifting softly in the air. The wedding was small and private, just a few close friends, some colleagues, and Mia, who proudly declared herself not only the flower girl, but also the ring keeper and the boss of everything. Lily stood at the end of the path in a simple off-white dress that seemed to capture her essence, graceful, understated, and quietly beautiful. Her eyes sparkled as they met Aiden's, who stood beneath an arch of white blossoms, Mia clutching his hand with flowers tucked in her other arm. When Lily reached him, Aiden took both of her hands and said warmly, "You walked into my life by accident, but loving you has been the most on-purpose thing I've ever done." Lily's voice trembled as she answered, "I didn't know I could find home in someone else's arms, but you and Mia, you are the home I never dreamed I could have." The officiant smiled and spoke the final words. "By the power given to me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." But before he could finish, Mia shouted, "You can kiss her!" Laughter rose all around, and Aiden did just that, their kiss soft and certain as Mia tossed flower petals into the air like confetti. The celebration that followed was just as simple and heartfelt. Folding chairs were set beneath twinkling lights, lemonade-filled mason jars, and on the table sat a chocolate cake that Mia had decorated, crookedly but proudly. There were no headlines, no grand hall, no spotlight, just the closeness of people who mattered and the undeniable warmth of love. Another year passed, and the front window of a cozy corner shop bore new words in bright paint. The Sunflower Library, children's books, and community classes. Inside, Lily guided a group of children through a craft activity, crayons rolling across the table while shelves of storybooks lined the walls. In the back room, Aiden sat surrounded by a circle of attentive young listeners as he read The Very Hungry Caterpillar. At his feet, a little boy with dark curls and curious eyes. Theo, not yet 2, with Lily's nose and Aiden's quiet determination, played happily. Nearby, Mia, now a confident 6-year-old, read aloud to her baby brother. "You're going to be a big reader like me," she declared matter-of-factly. One Saturday, a sleek black car stopped outside the store, and Charles and Margaret Walker stepped out. They had kept their distance during Aiden's hardest years, but time had softened them. Inside, Mia greeted them eagerly. "Grandma, Grandpa, come meet Theo again," she said, pulling them forward. A little unsure but smiling, they stepped in, and Lily placed Theo gently in Margaret's arms. Charles, awkward at first, held his grandson stiffly until Theo reached up and tugged at his tie, giggling. Something softened in the older man's face as he looked from the boy to his son. "You've built something good here," he said. Aiden only nodded quietly. "I had help." That evening, as the sun sank behind the brick row houses, Aiden sat on the back steps of the shop with Lily resting on his shoulder and Theo asleep in her arms. Fireflies blinked in the garden as they shared the silence. "Do you remember the night we met?" Lily asked softly. "The emergency babysitter mistake?" Aiden teased, and she nudged him with a laugh. "The best mess of my life," she said. They sat for a long moment, the kind of silence that felt full rather than empty. "I used to think family had to look a certain way," Lily admitted, "but now I know it's just love." "That's all it's ever been." Aiden kissed her hair gently. "And this is the kind I never thought I deserved." Inside, Mia carefully arranged books on a shelf labeled Staff Picks by Mia Walker. Among them sat a title called How Families Are Made. The lesson was simple, not by blood alone, but by showing up, by choosing to stay, by loving even when it was hard. Beneath the painted sign above the door that read "You Belong Here," the Walker family, messy, loud, imperfect, had everything they had ever needed, one another. Thank you for following this journey. Aiden, Lily, Mia, and little Theo remind us that family is not always about perfect beginnings, but about the people who choose to stay, to love, and to build something real out of unexpected moments. Sometimes the wrong number leads to the right person. Sometimes love finds us not when we're looking, but when we need it most. If this story touched you, made you smile, or made you feel something deep inside, we invite you to subscribe to Soul Stirring Stories. Every week, we bring you new stories of love, getting better, strength, and the soft magic of people caring. Press that subscribe button and let us keep touching your heart, one story at a time.